Hello, welcome to the second session of today. In this session, we are going to explain a little bit about the guideline for VNF builders and the three lifecycle stages about the VNF configuration, okay? So basically, the VNF configuration we have in OSM three stages, three lifecycle stages that we call it day 0, day 1, and day 2. Here I left three short definitions about the different days. So the day 0 is the basic instantiation, is when the VNF is instantiated and the management asset is stabilized. Is at instantiation time, okay? It's a more important thing that you have to know. Then we have the day 1, that is the service initialization. We will configure the VNF and we provide the expected service. This day 1, the action of day 1 is when the VM just to create it, only just to create it. And the day 2 is the runtime operations. Is when the VM is created and we have to do this operation when we want, okay? Not how the day 1 is just only when the VM is created. So basically, the day 0 we use in OSM call it cloud init, and for day 1 and day 2 we use in UU chars, okay, proxy chars. So this is only an introduction about the following presentation. So if you don't understand some words or something like that related to UU chars or cloud init, don't worry, because today and tomorrow we have session about these tools, okay? So here we have an example of the lifecycle stages, and we can see that day 0 is the orchestrator, the open source manual, talks with the Vim, OpenStack, AWS, VMware, VNEMU, and the Vim creates the virtual machines, okay? And the day 1, open orchestrator again, talk with your VNFs or network service instances, and don't receive anything, okay? And in day 2 is corresponding to the number 3 in this case. The orchestrator lands an action, and the orchestrator receives it if the action was completed or not. Okay, more or less difference. You understand? Okay. Okay, the day 0 is the basic instantiation. Here you can see the VNF builders that we do in this session is describe the components of the VNF. We have to design the scenario, okay? How many videos are we using in this case? If we need different VNF, I think the videos are internally connected, externally connected. We have to decide all these things in this day 0, okay? If we are using cloud init, chars, APA, all these things, okay? So in this presentation, we are going to see this with a basic example of virtual VPC, okay, very quickly. So I recommend you use a template or something similar for do these things. I think is the first time. I think is important to use this only for create the scenario, no more. And in this template, you can use other parameters, chars, cloud init, whatever you want, okay? And the example that I said previously, the virtual VPC, here you can see the information collected. So you can see in this case, we have one VNF with one VNF, okay, with 2 videos. Each video uses a different image, and each video have a different flavor. Okay, the number of interfaces is different in the first video and the second, and the first video use API information of API. Okay, it's only to see you how we can create a VNF descriptor. Okay, and here we have an example of how you can build the VNF diagram. It's not the case that the virtual EPC, but it's an example that we will see in the next session of multi-video. And here we can see our virtual EPC example. As you can see, as I explained it before, you can see two videos. The first video have 4 interfaces. In this case, have 3 external interfaces and 1 internal interfaces. As Abubakar explained it, it's an internal connection point, this, and this will be external connection point. And the other video have 2 interfaces, one internal and the other external. And then you have to build the nest, how Abubakar explained again. First, we create the VNF, and then we create the network service, okay? This is an example. In the case of virtual EPC, it's only a network service with 1 VNF. Then, how use the day 0? How use the cloud init in the descriptor for the day 0? Abubakar explained that the cloud init file is inside a folder that is called cloud init. And here you have an example of a cloud init. In this case, we use a hostname for enter, for do SSH into our machine, and a password. Okay, these are basically used for inject user password and SSH keys, more or less, no more. In this case, okay. We have to how can do it in the descriptor, in the VNF descriptor only. We have to add this parameter inside the video is the cloud init file parameter with the file, not a cloud init.
One thing, another thing that we need to do also is to include the cloud init file inside the VNF package. Okay? And then you reference that cloud init file inside the VNF descriptor. That's what Adrian has shown you.
Okay, now we advance to the day 1. Day 1 is the service initialization. Is the initialization of service right after the instantiation. The VM is created when these actions are done, okay? So here you can see an example of what can do with day 1. Identify dependencies between components, start some interfaces, replaces values, start services inside the VNF, install packages inside the virtual machine. Okay, all these things is day 1. And for this day 1, we're using proxy charts. Okay, don't worry about that because tomorrow we will see all of the charts with the canonical guys. So we can build a proxy chart with 2 methods, okay, with the traditional way or using proxy charts generators. And here we have an example of how can do this in day 1, okay. For instance, here you have the command that we want to execute, and then inside the command in traduce in the chart definition. This is created in the chart, but really we have to execute this command. In this case, add the interfaces and enter an IP in the configuration. Okay. And the last step is reference this in the VNF descriptor. So in the VNF descriptor, we have inside the VNF configuration, we have a parameter that's called initial config primitive. And then we have to enter the parameters, the value, we can associate the default values, etc. Okay? This is for day 1. Now we can see for day 2, it's only changed in the descriptor this parameter. Okay, with the day 2 is reconfiguration of the service that you want and monitoring the service. Here again you have an example that you can do in day 2. At the same, we are using proxy chars for these runtime operations, and the same that they want is the command that I want to execute. Here you can see the definition in the chart is similar to the definition in the chart that they want. Okay, and there you have the parameter that we use in the VNF descriptor. The day 1 was initial config primitive, and day 2 is only config primitive. Here you can see, for instance, the default value. Okay, I think that is important. I think this is important. Is for launch actions in day 2, you have to execute in OSM an action with the command, in this case, OSM ns action. For day 1, the actions that are executed just after the virtual machine is created, you don't have to launch an action. In this case, if I have a VM and 3 days after I want to launch an action, we can do this with day 2, not with day 1. Okay? I think this is a really important thing. So with day 2, we can also monitoring. Right now we can monitor in bin, can collect bin metrics, VNF metrics, and video metrics. All these things we can do with a chart, with a proxy chart with a layer that is metric. And here you have an example, the definition of the metric in our VNF descriptor. Okay. Also, we can scaling operation, auto scale if you want, or something like that. Okay. Here you have, this is a resume. Okay, you have here a complete guide about how you can do this. Okay, and for this quick presentation, that's all. Have any comment or any doubt? Yes. How to launch the NS operation? You can launch by user interface or CLI. With yes, I think yes.
Yes, this is done through the northbound interface also. So the MBI receives the action and sends it to the channel.
No, the action are referred to the chart. You have to define the action in the chart firstly. Yeah. Okay.
You can also do it through curl command, for instance.
Okay, you have more doubts, more questions?